But we need to get to a news conference. Our apologies. Let's go to Transtar right now. This is giving us an update. We need to go ahead and listen in as we continue to look at pictures of the floods.
This occurs at 103.4 feet at Addix and at 97.1 at Barker. To date, approximately 34 inches of rain has fallen in the watersheds upstream of Addix and Barker. This is approximately half of the average rainfall amount expected in the Houston area over the course of a year. Estimates from the National Weather Service on rainfall above Addix and Barker from today through the remainder of this tropical event is about 9 inches. This estimate is down from the previous estimate from August 27th of 25 inches. The Corps of Engineers started water releases from both Addix and Barker yesterday. The intent is to maintain the ability to control releases to the extent possible before uncontrolled releases would begin. Additionally, controlled releases reduce the magnitude and duration of uncontrolled releases, potentially decreasing the impacts of flooding. In the current event conditions, there is an expectation for uncontrolled releases at the Addix spillway this morning. Spillway flows at Addix just begin at the low natural ground at the end of the spillway when the pool elevation reaches 108 feet. That elevation for Barker is 104 feet. At the rates of rise in Barker, it is becoming likely that Barker Spillway will go into operations. At 2 p.m. yesterday, we estimated that Addix was discharging at about 2,600 cubic feet per second, or CFS, and Barker about 2,100 CFS, for a combined total flow of 4,700 CFS. We continue to raise the gates slowly at the structures in a controlled incremental fashion. As of 5 p.m. yesterday, these discharge rates were approximately 3,800 CFS and 3,500 CFS respectively, for a combined total discharge of 7,300 CFS. The goal is to reach rates of 4,000 CFS at both Addix and Barker for a combined discharge down Buffalo Bayou of 8,000 CFS. We estimate the dams will approach this target combined discharge rate today. No decisions have been made to increase planned discharge rates above this amount. Dam releases are expected to occur for several months following this storm event. Releases from Addix and Barker constitute about 20% of the total flow of Buffalo Bayou, with the remaining 80% attributable to watershed runoff below the dams into the Bayou network. With rainfall still occurring in downstream reaches of Buffalo Bayou and tributaries, as well as with discharge from water from Addix and Barker, the elevation of the bayou is holding fairly steady and may take several days to recede. The Corps of Engineers is rerunning models with the revised rain forecast to estimate the extent and timing of flooding below and above Addix and Barker beyond the extreme rain event flooding that has already occurred. We are also performing the modeling to better understand the patterns of uncontrolled discharge around the northern end of Addix and both ends of Barker. The spillway flow at Addix is starting today and expected to end approximately on the 20th of September, with a peak flow occurring on the 31st of August at 4,500 CFS. These flows are significant and could increase flooding potential downstream. The Addix spillway overflows will migrate toward Buffalo Bayou along the Beltway 8 corridor and crossing I-10. The effect of the spread of the water is a mitigating consideration, however, as it enters streets, drainage networks, and with some flow potentially diverting into White Oak Bayou. For Barker, the spillway overflows are expected to occur starting on September 1st and end on September 4th. We expect peak flows occurring on September 2nd of approximately 100 CFS at the South Spillway and 200 CFS at the North Spillway. These flows will migrate through properties in the vicinity of the spillways and then enter Barker and Claudine ditches, which lead back into Buffalo Bayou. In general, for spillway overflows that occur, approximately 5% of Buffalo Bayou flow would be from the controlled release, 15% from the uncontrolled release, and about 80% from runoff in the watersheds below the dams. Properties upstream of Addix and Barker are experiencing and expected to experience flooding starting from yesterday. A listing of neighborhoods near the dams that have potential to flood, given the understanding of current and future potential rainfall amounts, is listed at the website readyharris.org or readyharris.org. Public safety is our number one concern as we work closely with our partners, the City of Houston, Fort Bend County, Harris County, and the Texas Department of Public Safety as we monitor the dams and reservoirs. Residents adjacent to the reservoirs, both upstream of Addix and Barker and downstream along Buffalo Bayou, need to be vigilant because the water in the reservoirs is rising rapidly and has significant potential to cause additional flooding impacts. That concludes my remarks. If there are any questions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, do you have any idea what the combined uncontrolled and controlled flows mean in terms of level for Buffalo Bayou? How many feet are we talking about?
We're still modeling that. We don't have those results yet, but indications in discussions with Harris County and others is that as that water comes around the side of the dam, the spillway, it will have a distributing effect very broadly, entering streets and drainage networks, and some moving off into White Oak Bayou. So there may be a long residence time for it to actually finally make its way down there, so that could be a mitigating factor.
But it's fair to say that most of that water, whether it's moving through the streets or into the drainage system in the suburbs surrounding the lake, is eventually going to end up back in Buffalo Bayou, correct?
Probably most of it. We're still modeling that to better understand what that effect will be.
So, yeah, last night you guys were saying that your model showed that in the worst case, that for the controlled releases from the dam, in the worst case they could add anywhere between 6 inches to a foot to the current flooding levels at Buffalo Bayou, through the bayou. If that's 25% of the flow, does that mean potentially these uncontrolled flows could put another 3 feet in the bayou?
We don't have a real clear picture on that yet. We're still running models to better understand what the impacts with that would be. And we're going to continue to have updates for the media as we receive more results.
And I want to make sure we have 4,000 cubic feet of water coming out of Addix at the moment as a controlled release. And you're expecting the uncontrolled releases to get up to 4,500 cubic feet of water?
Right, at its peak. So
at its peak. So it'll be in a couple days, the August the 31st, I think you were saying?
Yeah, so yeah, that would have some sort of a curve to it, and that would be a peak, and then it would start to drop off over time. But we'll have more results.
So yesterday and the day before, you guys were talking about how you wanted to get 8,000 cubic feet of water out of these dams in a controlled fashion, and do it in a relatively quick amount of time in terms of sloping from no release up to 8,000 feet. It sounds like that your controlled releases still haven't hit that 8,000 benchmark yet. Why not?
Well, we're seeing it gradually get to that level. The biggest factor is the difference between the water level in the dam and the water level in Buffalo Bayou at the structure. So normally when the structures are discharging through the outlets, the water, the spillway of the structure into Buffalo Bayou. Right now the bayou is actually submerging the outlets, so that has an effect of not letting the water get out as quick.
Sure. And so I just want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. Effectively, what it sounds like you're saying is that Buffalo Bayou is so full at this point you can't get the amount of water you need to get out of the dams, and that's
right.
Contributing to the flooding of the spillways.
That's right.
Okay.
Do you expect any of the homes in the Buffalo Bayou area, especially inside the loop, the real dense, some of the dense built up on either side, for those to be affected? That has not been affected so far, and a lot of those, they're still in.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to Jeff a little bit on that.
Okay. Let me give my portion of the update, and then we'll go back to that question. So, since we are at the elevation now of overtopping of the north end spillway on Addix, I want to make sure we have an understanding of the list of subdivisions that will be impacted or potentially impacted by this. Again, this is something we've never faced before, So we are trying our best to wrap our hands around what exactly this water is going to do as it interacts with subdivisions, roadside ditches, underground drainage systems, that it's all going to be interacting with as it heads east toward the Beltway. So these subdivisions that will begin to see water as the flow increases, and right now we have about this much flow, and the flow will increase as the levels rise. Those subdivisions are Twin Lakes, which is right near the spillway, so they will be one of the first subdivisions to experience water, likely in the streets. Eldridge Park, Lakes on Eldridge North, Independence Farms, Tanner Heights, and the Heritage Business Park. And to kind of give you an idea of where I'm talking about, this is along and north of Tanner Road, slightly west of Eldridge Parkway, up to West Little York, and over to Beltway 8. That is the region where we will be seeing some inundation. The depths will vary, and some places may not see water, other places may see water. Some places may see street flooding, other places may see structure flooding.
Do you want those Eldridge? There's a bunch of people who live over Lakes of Eldridge and next to Shirley.
Right now, what we are recommending people to do is pay attention to the water conditions today in those areas. This is not going to happen fast. This is a slow rise. So we are asking people to pay attention to the water elevations. Be prepared to leave, especially in the Twin Lakes and Eldridge Park subdivisions, in the Lakes on Eldridge. That would be the Lakes on Eldridge south of Tanner Road. As the Corps was saying, we will be looking a lot at this today. We will have updated information. The latest forecast is actually for a reduction in the overall pool height of adducts from 112 down to 110.5. So we are currently reviewing our list of subdivisions that will be flooding from the pool and seeing if there's any subdivisions that